In a distant corner of the galaxy, humanity had finally begun to stretch its legs. After centuries of looking up at the stars, they had reached out and claimed them for themselves. Colonies dotted nearby star systems, mining operations extracted rare minerals from asteroids, and trade routes connected worlds once thought unreachable. Yet, despite these achievements, there was a shadow hanging over everything, a looming dread that kept humanity cautious, even fearful. The source of this fear was an ancient alien empire known as the Vorthok Dominion. Little was known about them, except that they ruled vast portions of the galaxy with an iron grip. Tales of their ruthlessness were whispered among human colonies, stories of civilizations wiped out in days, entire planets reduced to ash. Humanity had avoided contact with the Vorthok for decades, choosing instead to stay hidden, hoping their existence would go unnoticed. But hope wasn't enough anymore. On Earth, President Laura Hayes sat in the Oval Office, staring at a holographic display hovering above her desk. The image showed a transmission received just hours earlier, broadcast across multiple frequencies. It was simple but chilling. Your time is up. Prepare for extinction. No signature, no demands, just those words, cold and final. She sighed deeply, rubbing her temples as she tried to process what it meant. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she said, her voice steady, despite the weight pressing down on her shoulders. The door opened, and Commander Ryan Carter stepped inside. Tall and broad-shouldered, with sharp eyes that missed nothing, Carter was one of the few people Hayes trusted completely. He led Project Eclipse, a top-secret initiative tasked with developing humanity's first warship. It was a project born out of desperation, a last-ditch effort to protect Earth if the worst came to pass. "Madam President," Carter began, standing at attention, "we've analyzed the message. It's definitely from the Vorthok. They must have detected our colonies expanding into their territory." Hayes nodded slowly. "And now they're coming for us." Carter hesitated before responding. "Yes, ma'am. We believe so. But we might still have time. If we can finish Erebus, our new warship, it could give us a fighting chance." The president leaned back in her chair, considering his words. She knew about Erebus. It was humanity's greatest gambler, sleek, powerful vessel, equipped with cutting-edge technology, far beyond anything currently in use. Quantum-powered weapons, advanced cloaking systems, engines capable of speeds unimaginable just years ago. But it wasn't ready yet. Not fully, and time was running out. "What's the status?" Hayes asked after a moment. "It's close, Carter," replied Lieutenant Emma Brooks, our lead engineer. "Says the main systems are functional, but there are still issues with the reactor core. Pushing it too hard could result in catastrophic failure." Hayes frowned. "How much time do we need?" "At least 2 weeks to ensure stability," Carter admitted. "But with the Vorthok already moving toward us, I'm not sure we'll have that luxury." Silence filled the room as the gravity of the situation settled over them. Outside the window, the sun cast long shadows across the White House lawn. Somewhere beyond those skies, an enemy approached, one unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Fear gripped the hearts of billions, but also determination. For too long, humans had lived under the threat of annihilation. Now, they had a chance to fight back. Hayes looked up at Carter, her expression resolute. "Then make it happen, Commander. Finish Erebus, whatever it takes." Carter saluted sharply. "Yes, Madam President." As he turned to leave, Hayes allowed herself a brief moment of doubt. Could humanity really stand against such overwhelming odds? Or was this all just a futile attempt to delay the inevitable? Shaking off the thought, she reminded herself of something her father used to say. Even the darkest night ends when the sun rises. Whether humanity survived or perished, one thing was certain: they wouldn't go down without a fight. Commander Ryan Carter stood aboard the orbital shipyard, staring out at the massive structure floating silently against the blackness of space. It was a marvel of human engineering, the culmination of decades of research, sacrifice, and hope. The warship Erebus loomed before him, its sleek hull glinting faintly in the light of a distant star. Nearly complete, it looked more like a weapon than a vessel, designed not just to defend, but to strike fear into any enemy foolish enough to challenge humanity. Behind him, Lieutenant Emma Brooks approached, her boots clicking softly on the metal floor. She carried a tablet in one hand, her expression a mix of pride and worry. "Commander," she said, stopping beside him, "we're ahead of schedule, but there are still some issues with the reactor core." Carter nodded without taking his eyes off the ship. "Tell me something I don't know, Lieutenant." Emma hesitated, then continued. "The cooling system is unstable under high stress. If we push the engines too hard during combat, the whole thing could overheat. We need at least 2 more weeks to fix it properly." 2 weeks. That was time they didn't have. Carter clenched his jaw, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Every day mattered now. The Vorthok were coming, and no amount of preparation seemed sufficient. Still, he forced himself to stay calm. Panicking wouldn't help anyone. "Keep working on it," he told Emma. "Do whatever it takes. I'll handle the politics back home." Politics set was another headache entirely. Down on Earth, members of Congress were already questioning the cost of Project Eclipse. Senator Michael Drake had been particularly vocal, calling the warship a waste of resources better spent on colony defenses. His arguments gained traction among those who believed humanity should focus on survival rather than confrontation. But Carter knew better. Without Erebus, humanity would be defenseless when the Vorthok arrived. As if summoned by his thoughts, his communicator buzzed. He glanced at the screen, a message from General Nathan Cole. "They've called another meeting." Cole's voice growled through the device. "Drake's trying to shut us down. Get back here, ASAP." Carter sighed. Leaving the shipyard felt wrong, especially now. But he couldn't afford to ignore the political battle brewing back on Earth. Turning to Emma, he gave her a firm look. "I'm counting on you, Lieutenant. Make sure this ship is ready to fly when I get back." "I won't let you down, sir," Emma replied, her tone steady despite the pressure. With that, Carter boarded a shuttle bound for Earth. As the shipyard shrank behind him, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humanity had always been resilient, finding ways to adapt and overcome even the toughest challenges. But this was different. This wasn't just about surviving. It was about proving that humans weren't weak or insignificant compared to the rest of the galaxy. They were builders, dreamers, fighters, and Erebus was their chance to show the universe exactly what they were made of. Back on Earth, the situation was tense. President Laura Hayes greeted Carter in the Situation Room, where military leaders and government officials debated loudly. Senator Drake dominated the conversation, slamming his fist on the table as he argued against continuing Project Eclipse. "This is madness," he shouted. "We're throwing away billions on a death trap, while our colonies sit unprotected." General Cole snapped back immediately. "Unprotected? You think building walls will stop the Vorthok? They'll tear right through them. We need Erebus. We need something that can fight back." The room erupted into chaos, voices overlapping until President Hayes raised her hand for silence. When order returned, she turned to Carter. "Commander, give it to us straight. Is this ship ready?" Carter met her gaze squarely. "Not yet, Madam President, but it will be. We're closer than anyone thought possible. Shutting down the project now would be a death sentence for all of us." Hayes studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. Project Eclipse continues for now. But understand this, failure isn't an option. Deliver results, Commander, or we'll lose everything." As Carter left the room, he felt the burden of her words settle heavily on his shoulders. Failure wasn't an option, but neither was delay. Humanity's future depended on Erebus, and, whether it was ready or not, the warship would soon face its ultimate test. The first sign of trouble came as a faint blip on the edge of human territory, a cluster of unknown ships, moving fast and silent. At first, the sensors mistook them for asteroids or rogue satellites, but Lieutenant Emma Brooks quickly realized they were something far more dangerous. The readings matched the profile of Vorthok drones, small yet deadly machines used by the alien empire to scout and destroy. When the news reached Commander Ryan Carter, he knew humanity's fragile peace was about to shatter. It happened near Proxima Centauri b, one of Earth's earliest colonies and a hub of mining operations. The colony had been thriving, its people working tirelessly to extract valuable minerals from the planet's surface. They never saw the attack coming. Without warning, the Vorthok drones descended like a swarm of locusts, unleashing devastating beams of energy that tore through buildings, ships, and lives. In minutes, the once bustling settlement was reduced to rubble. Thousands died in the initial assault, and thousands more perished in the chaos that followed. News of the attack spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Back on Earth, panic erupted, almost instantly. Cities buzzed with fear as people huddled around screens, watching footage of the destruction. Families cried over lost loved ones, while others prepared for the worst, stocking up on supplies and barricading their homes. Social media exploded with theories and accusations, some blaming the government for not acting sooner, others calling for immediate retaliation. The world felt fragile, teetering on the brink of collapse. President Laura Hayes addressed the public from the White House, her face grim but composed. Standing behind a podium, she spoke directly into the cameras. Today, we mourn the loss of innocent lives at the hands of an enemy that does not value peace or mercy. But let me be clear, humanity will not bow to terror. We will stand strong, united, and ready to defend ourselves. Her words offered little comfort to those who feared what might come next. General Nathan Cole echoed her resolve during an emergency meeting with military leaders. Pacing the room like a caged animal, he slammed his fist on the table. We can't sit here waiting for them to hit us again. We need to strike back now. Commander Carter listened carefully, his mind racing. He understood Cole's anger, but he also knew rushing into battle could doom humanity. Erebus wasn't fully operational yet, and sending it out prematurely would be suicide. Still, the pressure was mounting. Everyone looked to him for answers. Senator Michael Drake, predictably, seized the moment to criticize. You're telling me we should do nothing? Let these monsters kill more of our people while we tinker with your unfinished toy. It's not just a toy, Carter shot back, his voice firm. It's our best chance at survival. Rushing it now could make things worse. Drake scoffed, shaking his head. And what happens if the Vorthok don't wait? What then? Before Carter could respond, President Hayes stepped in. Enough. Her tone cut through the tension like a blade. Arguing won't bring back the dead or stop the next attack. Commander Carter, give me a timeline. When will Erebus be ready? Carter hesitated, calculating quickly. 2 weeks, maybe, less. But only if we focus all resources on finishing it immediately. Hayes nodded. Then that's what we'll do. Everyone here has a job to play. Let's get to work. As the meeting broke up, Carter returned to the orbital shipyard, where Emma and her team were already working around the clock. Lights burned brightly inside the station, illuminating engineers scrambling to fix the reactor core's cooling system. Emma greeted him with a mix of exhaustion and determination. We're making progress, sir, she said. But it's still risky. I know, Carter replied softly. Just keep pushing. We're running out of time. That night, Carter stood alone, staring at Erebus through the observation window. The warship gleamed in the darkness, beautiful and terrifying all at once. It represented hope, but also uncertainty. Humanity's fate rested in its hands. His. Somewhere out there, the Vorthok were preparing their next move, and when they came, Erebus would have to be ready. Commander Ryan Carter stood on the observation deck of the orbital shipyard, watching as the warship Erebus floated silently in the void. The sleek vessel was a sight to behold. Its dark hull shimmered faintly under the artificial lights, and its weapon systems bristled with untapped potential. But for all its promise, it was still untested. That was about to change. Against protocol, and despite the risks, Carter made the call. Erebus needed a live fire test. If humanity was going to face the Vorthok soon, they couldn't afford any surprises. He gathered his team, including Lieutenant Emma Brooks and Captain Samantha, Sam Lewis, who had been selected to command the warship. Sam was calm under pressure, her sharp instincts making her the perfect choice for such a critical mission. She listened intently as Carter outlined the plan. "This isn't just a test," Carter said firmly. "It's a rehearsal. Treat it like the real thing, because, sooner or later, it will be." Sam nodded. "Understood, sir. We'll make sure Erebus is ready." The trial run began, hours later. With Sam at the helm, Erebus soared through space, its engines humming with power. The ship moved faster than anything humanity had ever built, zipping past simulated targets with ease. It's quantum-powered. Cannons unleashed bursts of energy that tore through drones designed to mimic Vorthok ships. The crew cheered as each shot hit its mark, their confidence growing with every success. For the first time in weeks, there was a glimmer of hope. But then, trouble struck. In the middle of the exercise, alarms blared throughout the ship. Emma's voice crackled over the comms from the orbital station. "Captain, we've got a problem. The reactor core temperature is spiking. It's overheating." Sam's hands flew across the controls as she tried to stabilize the system. "Divert power from non-essential systems," she ordered. Her crew scrambled to follow her commands, but the numbers on their screens kept climbing. Sweat dripped down Sam's forehead as she realized how bad things could get. If the reactor failed, it wouldn't just destroy Erebus. It could take the entire shipyard with it. Back at the station, Emma worked frantically to find a solution. Her fingers danced over her tablet as she analyzed data streams, searching for a way to cool the reactor remotely. Time felt like it was slipping through her fingers. Around her, engineers shouted updates, their voices laced with panic. Finally, she spotted a temporary patch that might buy them enough time to shut down the core safely. "Captain, I'm sending a manual override sequence," Emma said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "You'll need to execute it on board. It's risky, but it's our only shot." "Got it," Sam replied without hesitation. She turned to her crew. "Lieutenant James Porter, you're with me. Let's fix this." Together, Sam and Porter raced through the narrow corridors of Erebus, heading toward the reactor chamber. The ship groaned around them as the core continued to heat up. When they reached the chamber, the air was thick with tension. Following Emma's instructions, Porter began entering commands into the control panel while Sam monitored the readings. "It's working," Porter called out after a few agonizing minutes. The temperature started to drop, inch by inch. Relief washed over the crew as the danger passed. When they returned to the bridge, Sam let out a deep breath. "Good work, everyone. But remember, this isn't over. We dodged a bullet today, but next time, we might not be so lucky." Carter watched the footage of the test later, his expression unreadable. Erebus had proven itself powerful, but fragile too. Humanity's greatest weapon was also its most vulnerable asset. As he stared at the screen, one thought lingered in his mind. They'd have to be perfect if they wanted to survive what came next. The calm after the live fire test didn't last long. News of Erebus leaked to the public, and chaos erupted across Earth. Senator Michael Drake was behind it. His name splashed across headlines as he condemned the project in fiery speeches. "Billions wasted on a glorified experiment," he shouted during a press conference. his face red with anger. While our colonies burn, Commander Carter plays games with taxpayer money. His words struck a nerve. Protests broke out in major cities, with crowds demanding answers from their leaders. Some called for the immediate deployment of Erebus, while others agreed with Drake, insisting the project be scrapped entirely. The backlash forced President Laura Hayes to address the nation again, her tone measured but firm. Project Eclipse is not a waste, she declared. It is humanity's best chance at survival. Trust that we are doing everything possible to protect you. But trust was in short supply. Even within the military, doubts lingered. General Nathan Cole grew increasingly frustrated, slamming his fist on tables during meetings and demanding action. "We're running out of time," he barked at Carter one evening. "Every second we waste debating is another second the Vorthok get closer." Carter understood the urgency, but he also knew rushing would only make things worse. Still, the pressure mounted. Then came the betrayal that no one saw coming. Late one night, Carter received an encrypted message from Lieutenant Emma Brooks. "Sir, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight with concern. When he arrived at the orbital station, she led him to a secure room, where surveillance footage played on a monitor. The video showed Colonel Aaron Blake, one of Carter's closest advisors, meeting secretly with someone off-screen. His words were chilling. "They'll listen if you tell them we're willing to surrender. Humanity doesn't want war, we just want to survive." Carter felt his stomach drop. Blake had been leaking information to the Vorthok, hoping to negotiate peace without bloodshed. To him, it wasn't treachery, it was pragmatism. But to Carter, it was unforgivable. He confronted Blake personally, cornering him in his quarters. Aboard the station. "Why?" Carter asked, his voice low but sharp. "How could you do this?" Blake didn't deny it. Instead, he met Carter's gaze with a mix of defiance and desperation. "Because I'm trying to save lives." "Do you think throwing Erebus into battle will stop the Vorthok? They'll crush us, Ryan." "All I did was give us a chance to avoid that." "A chance?" Carter snapped, stepping closer. "You gave them intel about our defenses, our strategies, everything. What happens when they use that against us?" Blake hesitated, then looked away. I thought I was doing the right thing." Carter clenched his fists, torn between rage and pity. In the end, duty won out. He placed Blake under arrest, ensuring the betrayal wouldn't spread further. But the damage was done. Word of Blake's actions reached President Hayes, who summoned Carter immediately. "This complicates things," Hayes said, pacing her office. "If the Vorthok know about Erebus, they'll target it first. Are we sure it can hold up?" "It has to," Carter replied, his voice steady, despite the weight of her question. "We don't have another option." Hayes stopped pacing and looked at him directly. "Then finish it. Whatever it takes, make sure Erebus is ready, and contain this scandal. No leaks, no rumors. Humanity needs hope right now, not more fear." As Carter left the White House, he couldn't shake the feeling that Blake's betrayal was just the beginning. The Vorthok were coming, and they knew what awaited them. Doubts swirled in his mind. Was Erebus truly enough? Could humanity stand united in the face of such overwhelming odds? Back at the orbital station, Emma greeted him with grim determination. "We've tightened security protocols," she said. "No one else gets near the shipyard without clearance." "Good," Carter replied, nodding. "And keep working on the reactor. We can't afford any weak points." Emma held his gaze. "We won't let you down, sir." Carter hoped she was right. As he stared out at Erebus once more, he realized the true fight wasn't just against the Vorthok, it was against fear itself. If humanity faltered now, all would be lost.